Not mine.
I brought 3 pens and 2 of them. So are you willing to manage the meeting and call it to order?
Oh, do you have the agenda? I'm sorry. I was so focused on the technology. I couldn't bring a printed agenda. Let me actually pull it up from my email. Okay, so I am calling the Cow Pasture Stewardship Committee meeting to order at 5:38. Okay. Were there any adjustments to the agenda today?
Yeah, at 5:38, right? I'll
Yeah,
take
5:38.
minutes. I had one adjustment to the agenda. Nicholas had emailed all the committees, I guess either this week or the previous week, asking for a council, requesting a council appearance to revisit proposed charge of the committees and schedule a meeting with the council. So I had a quick email with him, and because we do have a mission statement, and he said it could be something as simple as, the mission statement.
Yeah, over here.
Hey.
Hi,
Hi.
Oh.
I clearly didn't know where I was
Oh,
going.
can you sit down here so you're on the recording? Thank you.
Jim, what time is it?
1:39.
So should we add that added agenda item to the bottom?
Yes, okay, we can do that.
Sounds good.
And what I wanted to do is just throw it out there so that it could be an agenda item, so we could be thinking about it before the next meeting and come up with something.
Okay. And should we take a moment to welcome?
Welcome.
And you obviously know Jim.
Yes.
Yes. All right, the first item on the agenda is the communications agreement. Does anybody want to read that?
I can read it if it's available somewhere.
John, this is easier for me.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Did I hand you the right thing? I hope. Oh, okay, we affirm. Oh, do we read the mission too? Didn't give you. We have been. Okay. Here's the mission statement: to connect people to the place in ways that allow recreation, exploration, collaboration, and stewardship of the cow pasture. We affirm pursuing stewardship of the cow pasture has many dimensions, including a positive group process. Thus, we adopt the following agreements for all forms of communication: verbal, written, email, etc. We value what each person has to offer. Please come prepared to participate fully. All relevant ideas are welcome. Pursuit of ideas will be based on feasibility and support of the group. Only present ideas that you are willing to carry forward personally. Consensus agreement will be sought. Only block consensus when you cannot live with a decision going forward. Seek first to understand and then respond with kindness and respect. Observe the 3 C's. Keep contributions concise, constructive, and connected to the group's purpose. Share the floor. Be open to responses, even if you disagree. You.
Thank you. Okay, next agenda item is approval of the minutes from July 18th, 2024. Everybody have a chance to review? Okay, any edits, comments, changes? No?
No.
Would somebody like to make a motion? To approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes from July 18th.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. And are you getting those, Amanda? The minutes?
I'll get in the most recent ones, but I am on all the other communications. so I
I'm
must
trying to
have-
remember to
Yeah.
include you in all of that. I apologize if I'm.
Okay, all in favor? That was the discussion part. So all in favor?
I.
Aye. Okay, Minutes approved.
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. All right, next item, Ursa grant updates and decisions. Ah.
But we have another year.
We do. So I think that, well, we received the, let me see, we received the trail assessment was submitted on September 10th. And the subcommittee was gonna review it prior to this meeting and it just didn't happen. To provide corrections and recommendations to Zach prior to bringing it to the full committee. You know, there were some, it was a pretty rough draft. We had some corrections to make and additions to the verbiage in it. So it was really worth all of us looking at it at this point in time. So that was the trail assessment. Trail work,
I would say on the trail assessment, there are at least 2 sections that hadn't even been completed yet too, right? So.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point out, yeah, yes. And the maps weren't provided
No.
to us,
No.
so it's a really rough draft.
Rough draft.
Mhm.
I didn't look at Jim at all, that second, portion of it where he did the measurements. It looked like he spent a lot of time on that portion of the assessment and perhaps not so much time on the front part that I reviewed. And so the trail work, there's still 3 sections that are not completed. There was, Zach had agreed to, rerouting the trail that goes to the new trail right at the entrance, like right as you're going down M1-1. And I have maps here. But, yeah, I did that, won't get into too much detail here, but, that he was going to do, more, foot friendly and access friendly for the one snowmobile that comes up that route. It's kind of a blind corner now, so he's gonna close that steep little section off and, reroute it, so it's more of a T, which he said would be more conducive to signage as well.
Yeah.
So there's that section, and then there's a section, at C6-1 and C6-2. I do have to have a conversation with him because I don't think he's seeing that correctly.
6-1, yeah, so there and here.
So he said that he was gonna close it, I'm losing it. He was gonna thought of closing C6-2 because he thought it was closed off. But I think he's being misled because that's actually a very functional trail now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pretty overgrown at the end here.
At where it intersects with M13?
Yes.
do you think it is? Yeah, a little bit. Not any, it's more, C9 is more overgrown because because I thought he was gonna turn
Yeah,
that into that.
yeah.
Cause that's the fern meadow and
Yeah.
we don't have anyone brushing,
Yeah, that's
mowing
true.
that. We
Yeah,
have
that's true.
volunteers doing the rest of it. So that's gonna be one of my recommendations,
Oh,
but
okay.
this trail actually, we closed off you guys
That-
probably weren't on the committee then. There was a really steep section going down. And we piled brush in it. The snowmobiles used to groom a loop and it was like a blind corner and really steep, so we
Where,
closed it
on
off.
C9?
It was right, so this
See-
trail,
So. Why are these 2 trails, why is C6-1 and C6-2, why are they separate trails? Because this is where the new
that's
reroute.
kind of like blocked off, but like,
Mm.
see. Yeah. So that's the way it was done in the
Okay.
management plan.
C6
But-
is really short, it's just a little connector.
So
there.
what's
Yeah.
confusing is that this M13, have you found that? It actually goes more like. I should draw. I have 3 pens I brought and all of them. So that is, the trail actually goes more like this. Because we closed this section off.
Okay.
So this he has to And I think that that's in the
What is that?
mission of his. So
Oh,
we
yes.
closed this section off because it was really steep, and now the trail kind of more bends like this. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
so that has to be corrected, and I think that's in the scope of his work,
Mhm.
right? To like correct trails, and Mark has pointed out another one down here. So anyway, I wanted to just bring that, the trail work, you know, he was talking about bringing the trail more into C9. And I frankly think we should, like, C9 is more maintenance and we haven't used it, just make it go away is my opinion, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. And then the other section that he said he would work on was C5, was the connector trail. Thank you, Mark, for cleaning that out, because
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
he was gonna get to it like months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah.
And so C5 was the three sections that he has to work on.
Mhm.
So, the other update that I have, other people might, I guess, update and decisions and discussions. I put signs, we might discuss that tonight, and then trail routes and names.
Mhm.
So those are the things that I'm thinking that, I don't know if you agree, Jim, that if, Jeanette was thinking that we could go ahead with that, before the subcommittee looks at it, because we've already talked about names.
Last meeting. yeah.
At the
Yeah.
last meeting, and what I did do is, I don't know if you hear what I was saying, I drew in the route that he proposed. This is my suggestions, but I drew in the routes that he proposed, so we can look at them, I think, tonight, if everyone
Yeah.
agrees as part of moving forward.
Yeah, and your desire, which I agree with, had also been to make one big loop. That sort of, what is the longest loop that people could possibly kind of piece together and kind of name that also as the cow pasture loop or whatever we want to name it, but have one sort of big one.
My family already calls it the long loop.
So long loop. There you go.
I'm gonna do a short loop for a long loop. I apologize to the dog for only doing short.
Yes. Just use code, he won't.
So,
Pretty smart.
so is there any other Eartha grant updates and that you two can think of, being on the subcommittee?
I don't think so. I think next steps for us, so discuss here what some possible loops are. I think then the three of us can get back together. Jim, I will send you my edits that I did on Chris's original document. The only thing I still have to do is go back and compare Zach's trail numbers with the actual map to make sure. I just did an edit. And then you can look at it, and then maybe the three of us can get together and talk about that and revisit the naming again, and then the signage and where the sign should go.
No.
And we might be able to touch upon that
Yeah.
tonight. I'll let it,
Yeah.
let you guys, make a judgment call as to whether or not we have the time.
Yeah,
And with what I have here, if we can,
that sounds good. So why don't we give it, like, I don't know, let's give it 15-20 minutes and see how we're doing. So that we can also get to the both the conservation access and then invasive plant control topics as well. So,
should I go get that tape and put this up on the wall so that it's not a very big?
or maybe just put it in the middle? Does that work?
Yeah, I think the middle is.
Yeah, I think so.
Stand up and look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, and you guys chime in, but Zach, we may have shared this, but Zach is pretty adamant about not including on the new maps any trails that lead off onto private property. And I
Yeah.
can appreciate and respect that.
Yeah, I agree.
So on this particular map, everything that you see hatches on are just trails that won't exist on the new map, including this one.
Mhm.
I should point out in the assessment, he did propose a couple of new trails that we just won't discuss tonight that
Mhm.
might include that. So he proposed a trail that went the whole length of the property, was one of his trails. And that would start here at the Perrin property but it, you know, of course, it would be kind of like a T intersection there because it wouldn't be going on to onto the Perrin property. So,
What's the trail name there or trail number?
it's M3.
M3, yeah, okay.
So starting there, he proposed going down the sliding hill,
Uh-huh.
down M12, which starts at the entrance
Yeah.
and takes a right at the bench onto, I've got all these maps, these extra maps, so if you want, if that's easier.
I can.
And then-
see well on the
Okay,
upside down.
and then it goes on to C1, and then he let it out to M23. I'll just go over it and then, or do you want my opinions as we go through? Okay, so then another
Go
trail,
through, then they.
yeah,
Mhm.
this other little trail he proposed as a separate trail, which makes sense, that's C. I don't know, eight, thanks, which is the switchback trail
Yes.
that the BYCC created. And then another trail that he proposed, I just scribbled in his trail, he didn't really, his trail is not accurately drawn here, but it's on this green line, and he proposed bringing that up and teeing it here. At C5, and the trail from the cemetery, it kind of teed there.
There's like a four-way, there would be a four-way intersection there then?
Well, the other
It's a
trail is
T
gonna be closed,
Oh.
and I
Oh.
already,
Be a T from M41.
yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
42
Yeah,
would be
M-
gone, I think.
Yeah, 4.2 is, I already put brush in that was already,
Okay.
you know, we talked about getting rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then, another trail he proposed was coming up from, the cemetery building up M41 to C5 as one trail,
Mhm.
which, okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me not to think that way. Give me the eyes. And so, let me see, and then I'll backtrack a little bit here just to keep it moving forward. He proposed a trail along the stone wall, M21, and M22 across the stream.
Yep.
And then I guess intersecting at M23.
Yeah.
So that was a route. Backtracking, onto the Ford property, he still, I've given him the information and I think he overlooked it. But he wasn't putting it on the map and he didn't talk, in a trail assessment, he said it, shouldn't go through property that the city doesn't own. And I have researched that, and I do have the warranty deeds and
We're talking about
everything.
this existing trail here.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
We're good with that.
and it is.
Yeah.
But the only question that I have that maybe Mark, you could follow up on, and I've got the warranty deeds and that stuff, but it said something to the effect that the city bought most of, we can talk about it later, this corner lot right here, and I don't know what that means. I hope that that's not a glitch, but at this point, that's like a kind of a major trail that he didn't discuss too much in the management plan because he thought it was off the, wasn't on city land.
Because
And
of the new acquisition.
Is that the paper street that comes down into the?
Johnson.
Right,
Mhm.
where
And
there's the trespasser.
to his defense, I never noticed that, the drawing on this map that was done in 2017, they put the yellow boundary to the Ford property here, and they didn't include these lots
Mhm.
here. So, I think he was thinking, well, the trail dead ends onto, properties because he was looking at this incorrectly drawn
Mhm.
yellow boundary.
Did you say the city owns the parcel in this area? Is that what you just said? The city owns?
Well, no, the city owns, now the city
And then they own
owns
Ford.
all of this.
Yeah,
It owns these the two on,
No, I know all of that. Okay, I thought you said something else about the city on corner.
Corner down there.
Yeah.
oh, what I was saying, that there's a lot, yeah, there's a lot that on the deed for the sale of that property, it said that the city owns, these two lots on Maplewood Avenue, all of these
Mhm.
and a portion of this lot here.
Oh,
That lot, and I don't know what,
Down here.
no, but that's the paper street.
Yeah.
4.125.
Which the city owns and we
Which
have the
the
right.
city owns.
Yeah.
So it said a portion of this parcel,
Interesting.
and I don't know what that means. And maybe, see this
That
cut
was
out?
on Steve's property.
Yeah, so maybe they bought, like Steve and Demirs, if they're still a current owner, maybe they bought the section of that, but it doesn't, the way
Okay,
it,
that helps, though. I thought you were saying something.
No.
Right of way. I
with
don't
that.
know, it could be an owned right of way. I don't know for what, but it could be a legacy.
Set that on the-
So does this represent the city
Yeah.
ownership here?
I don't know, so that might be.
It doesn't show up on the city GIS later, because that's this right here,
Mhm.
but. I mean,
Well, that's updated.
this is this is updated, this is from, just a few months ago. But
So are you saying that this corner, but that's
It
the
would be-
corner lot right there?
This is the corner lot, yeah, right
which
here.
is this right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
triangle.
Yeah, which is city owned.
yeah, but it said a portion of this lot, the city bought.
Oh, that's.
It said a portion.
It's hard to tell. on those-
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah, and I can give you that, ask me before I leave about those documents that I got during that town hall. Okay,
Okay.
so. So. So this map would be a trail, he suggested that, and then also, we're, struggling to get him to accept that S3 is, that, I told him that we're working on, getting a, written consent from, Man Loso, have you ever used the paper street from Sheridan and Quinlan?
Yes.
Okay, so that trail, unbeknownst to us, goes across, it doesn't go as the map showed, it showed this paper street.
It feels like it goes across property.
Yeah.
It actually, some of the properties are infringing the trail, infringing on city property at the end. So the paper street was drawn nice and straight here, which it is not. It goes right up against someone's house that I think they have
This is.
chickens there and stuff in there on the city property. But anyway, it does,
Fenced it too, very quickly.
Yeah.
what's that?
It's fenced too.
Yeah, yeah. So Mr. Loso, just for your update, has, Mark and I met with him and he was very agreeable and we've explained the situation that this is an important trail and actually
It
we
was
got,
very what?
agreeable.
Oh, agreement. Is
Yeah.
it critical?
No,
Really?
it's
That
very
surprises me.
kind, it's very agreeable.
Well, you couldn't have asked for a better conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Great.
just, we've thrown it at Nicholas and he has to triage it with what he, has to present to the attorney, throw it through the attorney. So, we've been keeping him in touch saying, it's, thank you very much. And it's just a process, so I'm gonna pretty much insist that Zach, keep that trail on the map and actually take your route, which is more accurate than what is drawn on this
I
map.
think Zach will be agreeable with that because he said if we have the landowner agreements and.
Yeah, yeah, we don't technically have it, but you can put whatever.
We're waiting for this, so, according to Nicholas, the lawyers get a bulk mailing, every month or so?
He didn't say the time
Do you
frame.
know? Okay. But.
Yeah, he did, he
Just
just,
to review and
he,
sign.
yeah,
Right.
he just, because it's an out of city attorney, he just gathers things.
So Chris, did you say the things that have the little hash marks on them are gonna be not,
Right.
they're gonna be gone, so C4, all of that, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and he also these trails he talked about in the plan, in the assessment, those have already been blocked off, you know, he circled them and said shouldn't be used, those, we closed those trails off, you know, 8 years ago, the ones through the wetlands.
yeah,
I didn't even know there were trails.
I was gonna say, I've never.
Yeah, that's why we put the those were my comments, because he said move the kiosk,
Yeah.
you know, it's not in a good spot, and it was like, well, we intentionally
I didn't
put
know
it there
trail was
because
straight in.
I didn't either.
these were, we had
Oh.
YCC fix that trail,
Mhm.
and because it was all rutted with muds through the wetland.
Yeah,
And then like about 4 months later, the ATVs went through and rutted it up again, so we put the kiosk there as setting it aside from, the sliding trail.
Very effective.
And then,
And it's
and-
gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so this one also, he suggested from there, he talked about it in the management plan.
that's
as
from Hope
being-
Cemetery.
As a main trail.
Yeah.
But I don't agree. I think
It-
that should be, we don't have permission from, the cemetery. It's a busy Route 14. We don't want people crossing there or parking.
Mhm.
So I think my opinion is that this trail, I'm getting ahead of myself, this trail should be all one trail there.
Yeah,
And this should be just a sign saying maintenance, you know. Route
Service road
14,
or something.
Service
It
road.
doesn't need to be a maintained like, trail, but
mhm.
we don't want it to be advertised as like.
Right,
main
there's no
parking area,
reason why
main
people
access
couldn't
point.
use it, but
Yep.
we don't wanna encourage people parking in the cemetery
Yeah.
or the
Yeah, we don't need
cemetery
signage
building.
there and say parking area. or-
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Okay, I'm
It'd be
glad you
interesting
did.
someday to put together a walking Barre city that included the cemetery up to cow pasture,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
you could do a really nice loop
Mhm.
down Maples to cow pasture. Anyway,
mhm.
but that's a future.
But
Yeah.
that will be maintained because it's gonna be a road for maintenance, basically.
And, just for your update, that is part of the URSA grant, that is the city in kind, is that they were going to redo the gate here and open this trail up, it's like a road. And so they have to open that up anyway, because they've also agreed to take the chain link fence out, that's where they dumped sewage a number of years ago. And clean that up.
It's gonna be a pretty significant effort, that there's a lot of trees down in there, and it's basically impassable at this point, trying
Yeah,
to carry my bike through there at some point, it's like.
So I did talk
Used to be
with,
rideable.
Yeah, a lot of trees came down.
and it's dangerous too, you know,
Yeah.
people of the forester have said, you know, you really need to do something with that red pine plantation that wasn't
mhm.
overgrown and taken care of. So I don't want to encourage people on it
Yeah.
at this point in time. And I contacted the city, and the head of the crew, I forgot his name, but he was supposed to contact me for a site visit and he hasn't, but the city's been so busy, but that's definitely has to come this winter because they have a lot of work to do on that next year.
Mhm.
So let me see, we've done all of these and they're
Yeah.
all outlined here. And then the only other trail, he completely forgot M13. He didn't include that on any of his recommendations, which is.
And that's
a
amazing.
trail.
Yeah.
That goes by that's where the birdhouses are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meadow Trail.
Of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I-
we even called it Meadow in our
There you
suggestion.
go.
Yeah. And so then he
Very
listed
smart.
this trail here, the one that nobody can really find, you know.
That's so
Trail's easy to find.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not.
From the meadow.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
Yeah,
sisters.
it's
Well,
really
yeah,
hidden.
you just have to know where
People
it's at.
doesn't even know,
Yeah,
people don't even
yeah,
know
yeah.
it's there.
Don't fall into
I
the
love that
cistern trail.
What's that?
Don't fall into the cistern.
Where's the sister?
Well, somewhere where you shouldn't be because you might fall in.
Good.
No,
That's
the
a foundation,
cistern
so.
is
Nice
down
idea.
low.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, yeah, see, I'm perfectly fine.
Chris scared me. The first time she walked me in the cow pasture, she's like, don't go down there. There's a big cistern, you're gonna die.
Is that the big, the big concrete square?
Well, not the one by the stream, there's that
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
but there's another one, and I have
I
since
tried
been
that
able
one,
to find that.
Mhm.
And Mike is saying, do you think that you imagined it? And I said, no. We had the city go up at one point and walk in and secure the corrugated metal top to it, because it was just this abrupt, no fencing
How deep
pit.
is it?
It's probably if a kid fell in there, or a dog or a deer, they won't be able to get out. So we put a log in there, you know, just for a stopgap, you know, for something to be able to, someone to be able to, a little animal or something to climb out. And the city secured it, but now it's like, it's part of the forest floor, but it's still there. And then, and also in there, on one of the maps, they show, it's one of the maps show a well down there. There is a well and there is a little stone. It's pretty cool, but it's like just a drop down stone built well. So there's a well and then there's a cistern down there. So what I was referring to, he had recommended a new trail that weaved down through here and connected here. And without any regard to like hazards, which I think we put specifically in the RFP, you know, to take into consideration that.
Well, I think it's very nice to have an area that is trailless, you know, no trails, you know, in the cow pasture. You know.
Yeah, thank you for that, but that's. feel
I
like-
agree, and then you had also expressed concerns about capacity in your draft response, and I think we'll have a hard enough time just maintaining what's there. So adding more, it just would probably overwhelm this group.
And it's fine that he has those proposals, but the one other proposal he had might be doable. But I think the other one, I just, you know, for reasons, you know, because that's one section that he didn't complete on his trail assessment, was conservate, leaving open land, conserve land or whatnot.
Which is.
Okay, so that, I think I went through all of those recommendations that he had. And so I can go over like what I thought might be good ideas, and then you can agree, or because I've had the opportunity to look at this and review it, so I can share those.
Yeah.
So I thought like a big loop would be worth, you know, we're, and the fewer signs, because we're only, we paid for the committee, I forget how many, I have it written down someplace, a limited number of signs, you know, instead of at least a minimum of 8 finding signs, replacement of 3 kiosks with a map with like, you are here. And then, and we said something else in it. So just keeping in mind that we don't want a lot of signs, and like the bigger trails and loops that we have, you know, the simpler it'll be for people to find and the less signs there would be. So my first recommendation was to start right at the, bring it right to the trail and, you know, right at the, to the beginning, to the kiosk, and do, you know, a meadow loop, you know, or a cow pasture loop that would go all the way up and around this way. Alternatively, I guess it could, you know, just be a circular loop.
Can I
Here.
ask a question? So this is the existing Bass Trail. right?
Yeah.
Could we move that to the new trail?
No, the Bass Trail?
No,
No.
no, your loop. Your loop. not
Yes,
the
I agree.
Bass Trail.
I agree. too.
Yeah, let's put some ATVs on it while we're.
Yeah.
I would love to see the bass trails be overgrown in the summer and not even be
Yeah.
a walking trail.
Yeah.
Well,
The Bass Trails?
I don't
It's
know.
just the main
Because
one.
for us, it's the short loop, like, oh, we don't have time, let's just do, like, walk the new trail and then come back on the Bass. It's part of a really nice, like,
Short
quick
loop. Yeah.
loop. I think we would also meet with some resistance if we didn't maintain that. It's sort of the main thoroughfare, and I think people are comfortable on it. But I agree that maybe the loop should be the new trail, and then hook up with.
And then, so, but this would be a dead end, so these two would be, I guess the way I see it though, like, you know, you could put a sign here and say this is the loop trail and go around. I guess you could do the same thing there, and say it's the loop trail, but there would be this little burr that wouldn't be.
Well, the loop would be, it's more of a lollipop.
Yeah, that is.
It kind of goes out and circles back to the same trail, whereas I feel like a main loop would try to cover the perimeter.
Exactly.
And it would be like the main loop
That's
would
what I
be
think of as the long loop right now.
Yeah.
out to
Yeah,
here and then
yeah.
back down to
Yeah.
here and then
Yeah.
down C8 and
Yeah.
that would be sort of the main loop.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've
I
heard
like
people
that.
refer to that as the loop
That's
already.
That's our 45-minute long loop.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
that's
heard
the
people
loop.
out there say, yeah, we just walked the loop, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're
And I
talking
think
about.
you're right, Chris, that signage would be a little confusing if it was more of that lollipop,
Mm-hmm,
where you have this
Yeah.
out and then a loop and then back the same way.
right. And if it was just the loop, then you just do left, left, left the whole, well, till you get up here and then you make a right. But,
And I would, if we're gonna do that, I would say that keep this M3 as part of the loop rather than the little, because we can get away with putting little signs for the switchback trail. Just a little
Mhm.
tiny sign rather than a
Well,
bigger
the switchback
sign.
is a little bit more accessible.
Yes.
yeah,
Going down that sliding hill is
Yeah.
not for someone who's not in decent like motor control. But the switchback trail, you could hike pretty much most of the rest of it except the sliding hill.
well, and getting down to
Somewhat
the road, to the
With less-
creek, on the creek
Yeah.
on this,
Yeah.
over here where the creek crossing is, it's a little challenging.
There's at the very,
Spring.
right at the
Mhm.
stream, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
and he
that's
mentioned
like-
that, I think, in his.
That's an area that needs work in the future.
Yeah, yeah.
What I like,
Rerouting.
what I like about including these switchbacks is when I'm doing a long loop anywhere, I like try to get the most out of it. Like,
Little extra
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah, and I feel like
We'll give you that.
that's a little longer.
That is
That's
longer.
One
Yeah.
little bit more.
Well, from a sustainability, trail construction, the switchbacks are definitely more sustainable than, I mean, and you were, Chris, at one point were telling me how the sledding hill had erosion issues in the past.
gosh.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
That's why the switchback.
Significant remediation work, was that 6 or 7 years ago now?
Probably
But-
about
but
With
that.
the reseeding and.
Yeah, that had backhoes in there.
Yeah.
and there-
How do we deal with, and maybe it's not, maybe it's just for the users to decide, but because a major portion of this will be on VAS, and this is VAS too, right?
No.
No,
Oh, this is not VAS.
this,
No, that's-
They
this is,
can't get down enough.
M23.
A small portion of it's on that.
Oh, so
Oh,
then
yeah,
it's,
that.
okay, so never
yeah,
mind.
That upper part is.
So
this
then-
is not.
Just this is faster.
Correct.
no,
And
yeah,
this.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Which is
Coming
like
down from
P8 would be
the
good.
pasture.
So we do want to
Okay,
encourage people to
another
go on
reason.
a switchback
Mhm.
there. Yeah, but I agree, I think of this as the loop. The long loop.
I wish I
Long
brought
loop.
my markers. So.
Little green one.
Oh, I don't know, look at that. Well, so, I'll just, if I don't remember it, well, and I've got everyone here to remind me what is
Mark it
this?
on here.
Yeah, I think with the different colors, I don't know. So this is, the names that we came up with though are kind of out the door because we had the Spring
darn.
Trail, Stonewall Trail.
Well, we hadn't had a name for the new trail yet at all, and maybe that's just the cow pasture loop. Or
But
whatever.
well, the cow pasture loop kind of makes sense because you're going through the pasture, like what looks like a pasture. So,
I mean, it's not super
So-
creative, but if it's the loop.
so maybe that could be the cow pasture loop. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay, all
You
right.
could put in all caps. The.
Me.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, and I think this, before I forget, it was mentioned by Greg Rouleau, who couldn't be at the meeting today, but he was gonna send someone else, a member of the Barre City Cow Pasture. He had, texted and asked that it be taken into consideration that one of the trails be called like this after the snow bees. Because they've had a history, since 1960 there, and I think Phil Scott, he mentioned, used to snowmobile and dirt bike there and other people. So he was hoping that we could consider that. My response to him is that initial conversations were that we wanted the trail names to be more about the place. We were talking about the wolf tree, the spring
Natural
trail,
features.
the natural features.
Mhm.
But I told him that I would let people know that he had, an interest in having, one of the trails as named for the snowmobiles. So
Like to
that's,
sponsor additional signage.
so anyway, I'm throwing that out there. It doesn't go with the theme.
Yeah, and I think we should really stick to more evergreen names that are neutral. Because, the Snowbees have been a long-standing club and might be there for another 100 years, but they also may not. And it's always tricky when you name a public space after a private entity or a person.
Oh, I was gonna
Living
throw in
or
my name.
passing. Well, that's fine. I mean, Chris,
Chris's favorite.
Russo's Run.
wow, that's gonna be the siding hill. Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to throw that
Well,
out there.
don't we recognize the Snowbees at the kiosk anyway? I mean, we
We
do,
do,
yeah,
yeah.
so they have recognition
have,
in
yeah.
there, yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out
Yeah.
because I told him.
I'm
that
glad
I
you
would
remembered.
present.
Something more timeless.
Mhm.
yeah.
Timeless is a good
Yeah.
word. I was thinking of, as history changes,
The owl will
Think
be
of-
the owl.
yes, street names and statues and things like
Yeah.
that have to be
Yeah.
redone. but-
Yeah,
Okay, so that is like a major loop. That's good. So then, so looking at just other trails, the new trail would obviously, be here, and I think we talked about it just like looping in. We went back and forth, I guess in my mind, were we gonna do this or are we gonna do that? That-
well, the new trail would be included in the big loop because we want to get people off of the Bass Trail as much as possible. That was the goal of this trail.
Okay. So I guess so then this would be like from here to here would be a different trail name,
Well, does that get named then?
because it's there. I think
It
people
is
would be
there and people would,
confused.
and
if
we
they-
called it, we suggested Wolf Tree, which we don't have to at all.
Oh, that would work though.
Is that section, is that?
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Wolf
that's the
Tree
wolf
is?
trees there.
Uh,
There's one over by
is
the
it-
springs.
Yeah, it's the whispering tree, what they call the
It's right
whispering
here.
tree.
It's in here. It's across, it's.
Isn't there a really huge one off to the right?
Yeah,
That's
on
just,
the-
It has a little path
Yeah,
on
it's-
it.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
first spot.
yeah,
that's enough. Thank you.
that's about right.
Is it Whispering Tree or Wolf Tree?
Well, look, I
Whispering Wolf.
Another question.
Whispering Wolf.
ran into some folks from Barre who had been here for a long time, and they told me they called it the whispering tree. They may just be their family tradition, okay, so. But they said that they go and there's a big crack in it that they go and whisper their secrets.
Well, that would make it more interactive.
Yeah, It would, but it's just one I mean, that's just one, I don't know if that's what other people call it or not. That's what I refer to it
Yeah,
as because of that interaction I had with those folks, but.
well, and if people actually go and engage with it, right, maybe calling it Whispering Tree, maybe people would start going and whispering their wishes or whatever into it, or whatever it is they whisper into it. You'll never know.
Well, that's right.
And we,
Yeah.
just for the name, like the lettering, we could call it the Wolf Trail. And then there could be a sign because most people don't even see it
Yeah.
unless, and then there could be a smaller little sign saying Whispering Wolf Tree and maybe eventually like an
Mhm.
informational, like why they start calling them wolf trees to begin with.
Is it on the trail enough we're not causing problems by encouraging sort of a
People
Impromptu
walk
trail.
there.
No, there is a trail
Yeah,
there too.
there's a
because-
trail.
It's,
Yeah.
we would have to open it a bit if we're gonna do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we really wanna do that. I don't know, maybe it's I don't know, if you guys.
Well, we
It's not
can,
timeless, because that tree will fall down.
That's
But
right,
you
it's not gonna be there
will-
forever, all the trees are going to be gone ultimately.
Sorry.
Remember.
It's all part of, it's all. part
I
of the circle
know,
of-
right?
You know, they'll die and become soil and then new trees will come up and it's all, that's how it is.
It's the baby wolf tree. Baby cub
Yeah, it's,
cub tree.
yeah,
Okay.
it's all part of
Wolf tree, I like.
Okay.
So are we saying that this could be the mini loop, a mini loop right here?
that is, yeah.
Well, then it gets confusing if you're calling, like, I think if Zach was here, he would say it would be confusing if you have trails with like two different, you know, routes. So I guess I would say that this would be like a different trail name. And it would branch. Well, yeah,
No,
so
that could
that
be the
this
meadow-
could be like a
Meadow
different.
Trail, this, oh, actually it can't because that's part of the loop now.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, I think maybe we can differentiate between loops and trail names, right? Where you can just suggest. When we put this on the kiosk, we can say the,
Oh,
the main loop consists of,
All the trails. and-
yeah, connect up we can call the new trails, let's just say we call the new trail the cow pasture trail, right? And it would connect up with the meadow. Come back on the spring. Go to Stonewall and then come back
Yeah.
down. But that might be complicated, I don't
Well,
know.
what, I have a very basic question.
Mhm.
Why are we naming loops? People can create their.
Right,
own
people can make their own loops,
And
and
why,
they-
I mean, why?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Because I think that people who are not familiar with the place, kind of like a loop trail,
Mhm.
I think they're, you know, are more comfortable with it. And then it's a loop trail, it's less signage, you've got one name for it.
I have a sort of similar idea, but you could have different names for the trails, but you can also just have a certain color arrow that is like. Follow this, the red arrow is the long loop, the yellow arrow is the short loop. Just think about mountain bike trails are kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you wanna do the long loop, it's, 2.6 miles, follow the red arrows, and then you have them at the junctions, and you have the names of the trails would be sort of separate from the arrows. It's just a
Maybe so that-
random thought. I
Yeah, they
guess.
do that out at Berrytown Forest.
Yeah.
They have a trail, a race series out there, and they have 3 different levels.
Mhm.
I mean, and so they just put colored arrows for.
Snowtown loops is kind of like that
Yeah.
too.
Naming all the trails gives people the opportunity to do all the trails. To like redline the whole map,
Mhm.
right?
So our initial instinct, I think, to come up with, they're really section names, right? Maybe was where we were initially going was maybe the way to approach it. And then we can also do suggested loops, and that might also be a way to really promote and say, hey, this week,
Have you
the
done this?
the
Yeah.
featured, the challenge or whatever is to do the full loop and you connect up these and, so.
So the other ones that we haven't named yet are, we've got that. Then starting back here, some of the feeder trails, like the trail, I think that could be, I think we talked about the Ridgeline Trail.
Yeah. that's
So that
what
would, so that
Could be
we all
spur also,
spur,
I don't know, like Ridgeline spur.
okay.
Oh, Ridgeline
That-
Spur,
that's
yeah,
It is a spur.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's great, Ridgeline
Yeah,
Spur.
and I don't know how the lettering, how many words and letters.
I think we had unlimited because they're not gonna be
Right.
carved into the whatever, 4x4.
And then this trail, we all agree that this is a standalone trail, right? Through the Ford property from
Mhm.
Johnson.
Yeah,
So that's 1, 2, 3. So what else are we?
well, is that a spur too?
It would,
So it would be, we had tentatively said Crow and call it the Crow Spur, but we could call it the X, whatever we name it, Spur.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be parallel, it'll
Yeah.
signal.
and that's where on these, there will be kiosk signs. So these will be primary entrances.
Okay.
That's where the three signs, there used to be one here, there used to be one here. And there was a third one that got knocked down that I can't even remember, I couldn't remember where it was, and I knew it wasn't down here, but I think we had three. So that
That'll be an issue with new signs in these places too.
it will, and that's
Knockdown.
why I asked Zach to, because he had a conversation with Mike and I when I was showing him, you know, the Johnson things, and he had recommendations on how to approach this, but he should put that in writing in his assessment.
Mhm.
So, okay, so 1, 2, 3, so now we have this one, I think it would be a trail that would be just like maintenance, you know,
Yeah.
trail.
Yeah.
And then this bike loop here is another trail deserving of a
So those
name.
hash marks are saying that's gonna be gone.
No,
Okay.
that I ran out of color.
Good.
No, that one, that's a real trail, I ran out of color.
I fight for that one.
I like that one.
What are features on that one that,
Uh,
it's pretty piney in there.
it
right?
is, it's a red, yes, that's the problem, there's a red pine stand there that's got, you know, that's, yeah,
Yeah.
lots of, but, yeah, what else, I mean, you could call it the red pine trail, you know, that's, if we're gonna keep with natural features.
I thought we're anti-red pine.
Yeah, well, and ultimately they won't
Yeah,
be
it is
there,
there.
but yeah, but it is, I mean, it's a noticeable,
Mhm.
noticeable feature.
Yeah, and it's sort of carpeted with the pine needles.
Yeah, yeah.
And FYI, one of the trail recommendations, that Zach gave, one of them, weaved down through, all around through here and then onto M41. And then another one, I think branched off right about this switchback and
Okay.
came down onto, the new trail.
Mhm. I'm suggesting that as a potential bike.
Potential, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But for now, you know, this would be a trail that we have to come up with. The question I have is that I kept C9 off this because I don't see maintaining that through the Fern Meadow, because now, Amanda, I don't know if you know this, but, Ken Lund has been doing the mowing of those trails as a volunteer thing, and that's gonna, you know, I can't see how many more years he's gonna be doing it. And we wouldn't certainly be wanting to mow through the Fern and increase it,
So we come back through C62?
yes.
Okay.
And that's a place that Zach really needs to kind of like redo and I even circled it here incorrectly, the trail is more.
And we had tentatively put owl trail because there is an owl on that, actually, that, isn't the owl more in the fern?
It's up
meadow?
here, it's like right up by this
Sort of by the
property.
junction.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this could be, like, if we're gonna take this one out, you know, and not maintain it, you know, this could be like, we could call it like just because this is gonna be a loop, we could just
Yeah.
put a little sign on a tree someplace, just saying, you know, something. You know, because it'll be a dead end,
hmm,
just, you know, fern meadow or owl pasture or something.
So the trail would no longer go right to that fence.
No, because Zach, you know, was like, you know, he, like, all of these would go away.
mhm.
This one goes on to private property, so following his, you know, strong desire to not put any maps on the trail that lead to private property, he would have to take this one out too.
What
because
is that?
It goes
Like the
on,
Bass Trail would have to stay on the map, so
Where's
it's
it?
gotta be there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll,
So where's the gate? Where
the
is it?
gate is like right here.
Right, and so,
Mhm.
I don't even know there's a trail there.
It is, and people use it, and
Hmm.
people have like, there's a picnic table over here that they come down and sat on, which is
Oh,
on
really?
private property.
Oh,
I haven't come as far as the picnic table. I've gone down and back that trail.
So where it says 1B, onto the white property here, or the others, or
I
up
think
here?
it's an arbor.
Arbor mileage, yeah, okay.
Trail.
Oh, yeah, so it's the
that
opposite
maintained.
direction, yeah, okay.
But is
Okay.
that, is,
So it's like more of a really steep road
Yeah.
going down,
Yeah.
and it just kind of fizzles out.
and it's right along the boundary there.
It is.
Yeah,
I think I have gone down that many finally like, is this a trail?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and
I actually bushwalk there a lot because and it's where the proposed trail is, but there's no reason if we keep this wilderness, people can't wander there.
Right.
Sure,
You know,
Exactly.
we just don't
And-
put it on the map.
but it's really pretty through there. It's like 2 terraces and some of them have like kind of ferns and wetlands and you're
Yeah.
kind of, you're below this trail and I kind of get lost on it, but I just go uphill and end up on.
Yeah, just a large
Yeah.
section of unbroken habitat, I think is
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
For, we are a conservation area.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and the management plan speaks
Yeah.
to that strongly, and we did put that out in the trail assessment that we wanted consideration to, natural area.
So I'd want to be mindful of the time. It's now 6:30. We have another half an hour, 27 minutes.
Shall we like come up with recommended names at this point?
Well, or we could do that in the subcommittee and then come back again, because now we know the trails, right? And we know sort of how we want to handle potential loops. And it sounds like we're gonna aim for names for the sections, the sort of natural sections of the trails. And then maybe describe the possible loops or let people do their own loops in sort of special features or on the kiosk or however we want to promote on social or whatever. So I think we have our marching orders, right?
Yep, and
Okay.
we'll have to be mindful that this is what we told, in the, RFP, at least 8 wayfinding signs. Update and replace existing kiosk sign and 3 existing wayfinding signs that we wanted replaced. 2 of them aren't really existing anymore, with maps, with you are here.
Yeah. So, okay.
Can I ask a brief informational question? Why are you steering people away from the vast trail? Are there conservation questions or is this a?
It's a winter thing and the sort of the conflict of walkers, bikers and snowmobilers. Yeah, it's just a safety, it's more of a safety issue for the walkers.
And it's a big, it's not that and it's not, to me, it's not as, easy to walk through. There's the slippery stream crossing and there's no reason why people can't walk there.
Right, they're allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so it will be kind of confusing because people are to go on the first trail, they're gonna have to take a sharp right to get on that.
Especially
And
when
I-
they're used to.
And I think Zach, if he were here, he would say that flow doesn't seem right, but
Mhm.
I guess we can, how he puts the trail, maybe he, instead of making it a T, he said he was gonna take that, how that side trail comes up and it's at an angle, and he said, well, I'll make it a T, so it won't be steep. Maybe we could have him angle it towards the cow pasture
People that
entrance.
way.
Yeah,
So it's a more natural beginning than starting up here though, because if you come in down here and his suggestion was the trail starting up here.
Yeah.
First thing you would have to do is walk up that
Yeah.
sledding hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
It
And
feels
also-
like-
We always go left.
The kiosk,
Yeah.
right? The kiosk, that's
Yeah.
where you wanna go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much.
And actually, yeah. Where was his?
That all makes sense. I just wasn't sure if there was a reason I was missing for directing people away from the vast. trail.
Yeah, a lot of the,
Makes sense.
reasons for the ARSA grant was is that to get people, because there have been complaints with the snowmobiles and conflicts with them, you don't hear them and whatnot. So that was part of the URSA grant request was that, oh, we're gonna make a safer route for walkers.
I also have a pitch for when everything is finished, which is that you compete to see who can do every single loop the fastest. Can you do every single loop in one day? And who has the least time?
I think for people like the community to throw that out, just like I think it gets people out like, loops.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, this is the 1.2 mile loop,
Yeah.
and I think it'll.
And maybe at some point we could have a trail festival 2-day where we have little rubber stamps on each corner and people can stamp a passport or something like that.
Oh, that would be
That's fun.
fun.
Yeah.
biting
More
all the
reason to
gaps.
name them after birds because we can get stamps. So,
Okay.
okay, so let us move on, if you're okay with that, to the conservation access update, Mark?
Well, I don't know, if Chris kind of mentioned this a little bit. Right now, we're waiting to hear back from the city, for, the lawyer's approval of an agreement that we have with Mr. Loso, for S3, for the trail there. And, he is agreeable to the agreement. And so once that's done, then we can, ensure that the trail is added to the assessment. That's pretty much, I was out of town for a while, so that's pretty much what I've got. Do you have any additional?
I wanted to also add that you had rerouted the trail, and thank you very much. You what would you call it? What points on the trail, so we can provide to Zach the more
Yeah.
accurate trail. Right now, it just shows it going straight.
Right, yeah,
It's not
GPS,
really
I GPS the actual trail, and so I've got a GPS track that I can provide to him. And what's that?
With the parcels on there.
Yeah, with the parcels on it, so, yeah, and I can give him that GPS data.
Yeah. So as everyone can see, it looks like on this map, there's the paper street and it shows it going right down there. And this is what Mark did. It's actually, thank goodness, the city agreed
Trail.
to including that in the cow pasture because these came up before council. And so this was not the boundary before, but now the new boundary that Mark also added up. It was probably like, he said 70 acres, but I think it was like 68.7. Anyway, 70 acres has gone up.
Well, I think we've increased the total size by 16%.
16.7.
Yeah.
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 Which is so added
Amazing.
11.69, so
Yeah.
the past now, so that's something else that you did, but.
Yeah.
This is actually where the trail, and so, so the new boundary lines, which I drew on this. One of the maps that we'll have to get Zach to incorporate all those new city-owned parcels, the Duffy. So, yeah, you've been, the subcommittees have been, or no, their advisory groups have been
Yes.
wonderful, not
Yeah.
ready.
And really just making such an impact, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, invasive plant control.
Okay, well, there are two areas to address. One is, pledges, but I have some. And some people have even done their pledge, you can guess who. So Chris pledged 200 buckthorns. I know.
Baby.
Why don't you pledge 175 and I'll buy 25.
And she's exceeded her pledge.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
on the way, I found 5 winged euonymus, that's a pretty good size.
Oh.
That is the.
Yeah.
No, show off.
I found a bittersweet vine in that spot that was coming up, so it was nice to kind of get in that area and get a little exasperated by the fact that I didn't know any of those were there, but.
And Jeanette has been working on her pledge, which is, do you want to say?
Well, I didn't make the actual pledge, I just sort of dropped the ball on it, but I have been pulling up some buckthorn, especially on the new trail, where it's thriving. It's like, oh, new trail, yay. So, whenever I'm on it, I just pull them up. I try to get like 5, 6, 7 up. So
Yeah.
per walk.
And my pledge, I have to say, it took me less than an hour, it took me 45 minutes.
That's because there's plenty.
There were so many.
Wow.
That is amazing.
So.
All right.
I haven't made a pledge yet.
Well, you can right now if you like. I'm pledging, I haven't done any polling,
Mhm.
but I'm pledging 50 buckthorn.
So is it specifically buckthorn that we're doing?
No, anything you want. And it can be like one winged and ornaments if you want. Whatever you can
It
manage.
could be hard to get out of the ground.
Depending on the size.
What, are we gonna do anything with that patch of periwinkle that's up near the?
No.
No.
That's the same as for, the forget-me-not?
No,
No, the
periwinkle.
periwinkle, it's to the left as you go in.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh.
Oh,
Ah, no.
it's not as, it's not as.
Right, right. It's not as widespread. It's very,
Yeah.
very.
But it's growing,
It is,
it's
yeah.
like 2 feet a year, I would say that's spreading,
Um,
at least.
So if anyone would like to do their pledge tonight, they can, or you can,
Well, I'll get back.
get back to me.
It felt little like, oh yeah, I wanna do that. And then I felt overwhelmed by having to pledge and then I'm like, oh, I can just pull these up as I'm walking. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not that hard. I'm
Yeah,
already out here.
yeah, just do it the way that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Reverse pledge.
One thing I wanna avoid myself is I wanna make my pledge manageable so I can get it done and not feel like every time I go to the pasture that I have to like pull.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It does
makes
color the enjoyment, right?
Right, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
for pleasure too.
Well, I often make specific trips out.
Thirteen is the rain date, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, we're just gonna focus on that, where is that little triangle? There's a triangle in the meadow. And that's right,
Here.
yeah, right where all these trails come together.
Right,
Where the bench
actually right
is,
here.
by the bench?
Nope.
No.
The other
Oh.
triangle.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just full of buckthorn, including
It's
a
the little
couple,
cutoff.
couple that
Oh.
are pretty big, yeah. So we're just gonna attack that section,
Mhm.
and what I'm proposing that we do is cut. Some can be pulled.
Yeah.
But if they're too big for pulling, then we can cut them and to a short little stump and wrap black plastic around them and then zip tie that so they get no light.
Mhm.
And within a year or two, they'll die. Some of them will send up these suckers that you can follow up and chop them off. So that's another reason I keep this as like a small,
Mhm.
manageable area. I think you said you could come and there are a couple that are big enough that a chainsaw would be useful. If you-
Okay, I've got I've got my chainsaw, but I haven't used it in a while. I had surgery. Anyway, I have some physical limitations for
Oh,
using my chainsaw,
okay,
but I have a handsaw.
okay.
Oh, yeah, so,
I have
I
a
can-
bunch of tools that are cow pastures tools too, that include handsaws and loppers and.
Okay,
Yeah, we know
oh,
what
right.
you had got.
So-
yeah, I've got one
Yeah.
of those too. How big are they? They're like
I
that.
think
Oh,
the
I could
biggest
do that
one
with a
is like
handsaw.
that.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot though, and that triangle, and then just on the outside of it, I counted 28
Wow.
bunches
Yeah,
of
that's-
them. And we've had a number of them, at least that or twice that number have already been pulled by the Stephanie's class and also on the snow beats, yanked some out with a tractor or whatever, SUV ones.
Mm.
So there's a lot of been pulled, so it would be really great to finish finalize on
I
that.
have 4 or 5 saws I can burn.
I
so.
can bring a handsaw too.
Yeah.
And I can bring
What
a,
time is the work that day?
That's my next question. is-
how does 9 sound?
I can't remember. Finish off one of mine since we actually have a book auction in Burlington. Very different from.
Maybe 9:30 to give folks more time. I don't know.
I'm an early riser.
Oh, yeah, I like earlier. than-
Oh, okay,
I like to
sure, I can be there at 9.
do it and get it done.
Okay.
Maybe some of the snow bee folks could bring a chainsaw if we need one chainsaw because they like to chainsaw.
I mean, I'm welcome to bring it.
You
I've had,
can't use it
I
right now.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it start?
Yeah, it's completely, do you want it?
I don't want it.
You want to, I mean, I can bring it.
People can use it if you
Yeah,
want it.
yeah, I can't.
My
yeah.
chainsaw problem has always been that I don't use it for a while and then I can't start it. So
Yeah, yeah, well, I just had it completely renovated.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Nice.
Are you willing to let us use it for this
oh,
purpose?
sure, yeah, I was actually thinking of selling it, so I mean, I'll donate it to the cow pasture committee if you want.
Yeah, we had talked about purchasing
maintenance.
one, but then.
I know.
That's why I wanted an electric one, so there's
Yeah.
carburetors and. all
Yeah.
that
Be careful, electric is less safe in terms of like the chaps don't work, yeah, just know that.
Hmm.
Okay,
stuff.
yeah,
They spin longer.
yeah, they do, they don't stop as quickly.
Oh,
Doesn't have a safety. factor.
And then I'm gonna go talk with the fire department. The recommendation in the management plan is to take it off site and burn it, but we're gonna see if we can burn it on site.
actually, I don't think the management plan says that, does it? I think it. Did you read that?
I read that
Did you?
somewhere,
Huh,
yeah, so
yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
think buckthorn, I don't think it said that about all of them. I think it's about.
And are we
So
inviting
I'll
the
s-
public?
I think we have enough people that it could get a little overwhelming with more.
Chainsaws and fire.
Yeah.
But we could ask.
I don't know if
people
we'll burn it that day
No.
or if
Yeah,
we'll,
okay.
let it season over the winter and burn
Oh,
it in the
yeah.
spring. One thing we might also do if we're gonna leave it there is cut off all the little berries and take those
Yeah.
away somewhere.
So the alternative is if we don't burn it, they did pull, I think it was the Snow Bees group, like pile to pile. And like as Susan was saying, there's beginning to be a lot of piles in the cow pasture. And there's a huge pile there, but they just put all the fruit and everything there, so I wouldn't be surprised. So, but the other thing is hauling it out, which would be a huge task. I think, so I think if, just does everyone agree, like, getting a permit and burning it on site would.
Yeah, because hauling, I don't know when the berries fall down, are we spreading it more by hauling it?
Yeah,
out
we'll be
potentially?
clipping I think we'd have to bag the berries before.
Yeah,
And but that would be such a huge
Yeah.
undertaking, hauling that out.
Yeah.
Moving it is not a great idea,
no,
because who knows where it's gonna end up.
right, okay.
I have
With any
several
of
boxes of contracted trash bags left over from flood recovery. I would be happy to donate.
Oh, those would be
That would be
very
useful.
useful.
All right, we're happy.
They'd be good for wrapping around.
Yeah.
Layers of contractor bags are nice and thick and
Yeah.
just zip tie them on.
Yeah.
Zip tie or string, do we have zip ties or do we buy them
I
from?
was gonna grab the ones that I had and I forgot to grab them before coming in. I probably only have maybe about 30 of them and they're about this long. So I could bring those, but if you need to go purchase
I have
anything, bring them.
that
I
I
have some
can
too.
And if you wanna purchase them and we'll get it reimbursed through the Semperon fund, that would be great.
Okay, so, 12th at 9. Are we
Mhm.
meeting in that section or should we meet at the kiosk? Because then we can help carry some tools up if
Yeah,
we
why
meet
don't
at
we
the
meet at
kiosk,
the
right?
kiosk,
Okay.
yeah.
Will you send a reminder?
Sure,
Yeah, please do.
yeah.
I don't know if he'll be able to do it, but if I send my husband my place, would you take another pair of hands?
I have some.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Necessarily want to advertise it.
Yeah, but I think sort of partners or friends or close people that we know use the cow pasture.
I
Yeah,
tried to get Danielle, she worked on invasives for a while for Forest Service, so I'm sure to go, but.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Battle.
It's that unseeing thing.
Yeah, my
I'm
kid's going on
convinced-
walks with me on the cow pasture because I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, well, you just walk. No, he just leaves me.
I just hiked a bunch of new places on my trip and I'm convinced part of the pleasure was that I don't know any of the invasive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's setting.
The Badlands are just too
Right,
bad.
right.
They're invasive.
okay, so we have 7 minutes left. We have, 2 updates and then potential, do you want to add something to your?
There's also the communication thing about the new member.
Oh, yes, right, committee membership and recruitment is the next
Yes.
item, which I almost skipped by accident. So yes, thank you.
So I think it sounded like people who answered were fine with this being the text for it, stepping up to the cow pasture. The stewardship committee is looking for one new member interested in connecting people to this special place in ways that allow recreation, exploration, collaboration, stewardship. We've especially got an eye out for people with skills in grant writing, education, and or invasive species control. Maybe you can offer something we don't even know we need.
Yeah.
So if I sent this text to everybody, could you just shoot it out to, we all take turns putting on Front Porch Forum,
Mhm.
or if you use social media, just wherever. What email are you putting in? I was gonna put Chris's. Is there an
It's the-
email from the?
There's the
cow-
Gmail, the cow pasture.
Gmail.
Yeah, yeah,
And
okay.
that Jeanette has been monitoring that.
So I check it about twice a week, but if you all post somewhere or do like some heavy advertising, just drop me a note and let me know so I can check it more often. I don't always see Front Porch Forum. So just give me a heads up and I'll be on it more regularly.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Okay.
send you the words.
Thank you. Any other recruitment items?
Well, I added this, did you see this on Winooski Natural Resource?
Yeah, that's in
Conservation District
updates.
Outreach?
We're not there yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay. all right.
So any other committee member recruitment items?
Okay.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, Jeanette received through our Gmail account, an email from Daniel, Coneman, you know him? He's the new, I think he started in June, the district manager for the Winooski, Natural Resource Conservation District. Yeah, and so he said, just you'd be interested in partnering, or I forget what specifically the email said, but was interested in the cow pasture, was just kind of reaching out in case we needed anything. So
Yeah.
I emailed back and thanked him and said, I don't know if you're familiar, I don't know if he's from the area, if you're familiar with the place, but I would be happy to, walk the trails with you, and invited Mark as the head of the, and anyone else is welcome, but with you being on the conservation and what is the name of yours, and access, that he might be interested in the Perrin lands and just like getting an eye on, our wish list of expansions and protections. So, so we're going to be walking on November 5th at 2:00.
Great.
Um,
So you already have a date. That's perfect. Yeah, if you think of it.
Activity that day.
Oh, yeah.
What?
that's
Sorry, it's election
day.
day. It'll be nice calling.
Ah, we should all go.
Yeah, shall we all go?
I'm on the high in the desert.
Where there are no invasives. Yeah, he says if you can think of any way for us to collaborate, our need of natural resources help, or would simply like to meet and greet. So thank you for that. And now there's a new email as of this evening. Larry Morgacki, member
Larry.
of Barre Town Recreation Board.
Okay.
We're hosting a Weed Warrior event on October 29th. Now reaching out to ask your help in advertising. Okay,
That was great.
Weed warrior.
I have several posters from UVM Extension relating. So are we giving them permission to post in the cow pasture, the Weed Warrior event?
Is that a conflict of interest?
To
Okay,
me, it seems a bit confusing.
Yeah.
okay.
If somebody wants to do it, post a sign there.
I think probably Front Porch Forum would be better. I'll point him in that direction.
Was it for Barre Town
Yeah.
specifically?
Barrytown Forest. Sorry, I'm bringing us off the agenda. I will talk to him. And then, should I just work with you, Chris, on that? And maybe you, because you're our communications person now?
Oh, I am?
Are you not?
Congratulations. It's unanimous.
That was a fine answer, and acceptable.
I will.
I will tell you, I can spew stuff like that out in minutes.
Yes.
Can't tell you that.
Great communicator.
Yeah, I can.
See, okay, back to the agenda. So do you have a quick update on the overnight parking in the parking lot?
I had, just in crossing paths at City Hall, someone brought to my attention that there's been a car parked at the entrance of the park, at Maplewood Avenue, like several nights. Obviously, somebody's sleeping in it, you know, the windows closed and, you know, also there's trash in the woods that I didn't notice and she smelled human waste, was the report. So it just so happened that Nicholas was like right in on that conversation, and so I think he must have brought it up somewhere because I actually saw it in the newspaper as part of an
I
article
saw
or
that too,
something.
yeah.
Which that,
Within the police log or something?
No, it was in an article about the, you know, homeless
He did a
situation.
presentation at city council 3 weeks ago about what he described as sort of general quality of life complaints across the city about cars and overnight in places, increased debris and trash, increased people who are not in their right minds, not present in public spaces, and increased urination in public spaces. So there was a sort of unfortunate collection that unfortunately also expect to increase as the motel program continues to close.
Yeah.
And he did mention that the cow pasture parking area had seen people.
and then on top of, I think it was probably a couple weeks later, I forgot why I was up there, and it wasn't just for a walk, I never go up there just for a walk. It might have been the buck that I'm pulling, but there, I noticed I walked down to the entrance and there was another car that I thought was, you know, and so I called the police and asked that they, you know, circle through there. It was, you know, towards evening, and they said that we have like 2 police on duty for the entire city this evening, and it was like a weekend night, and I said, understood, but, you know, if there's ever any time where people are just driving on patrol, whether it's early morning, or something, we would appreciate, you know, like, you know, circling around that parking lot.
I believe Nicholas has asked for that, so it's good that you sort of back affirm that up as well, but I believe that is part of the plan generally.
So is that something, we want to discuss again at the next meeting, or is this just an FYI? What's your hope?
I don't know, you know, what I told this person was if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like, we should even add it like a front porch forum thing, you know, or just,
People are in a tough spot and trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
I mean, I encountered a guy sitting outside of a vehicle up in the parking lot last week, and he was just sitting there, you know, young guy, looked like he had some work clothes on and stuff, and I just walked by him and he got in his car and left, but he was like sitting on a chair that he had set out there, so. You know, I mean, he wasn't doing anything,
Right.
you know, he was just being there, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's been an issue when there's like human waste.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yes.
the trash and human waste.
Someone's parking there and being
Yep.
respectful and not
Yep.
there every night and all day and harassing people, it's kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
to answer your
yeah.
question, you know, I just want to bring it to
Yeah.
the committee's attention and,
Great.
that there was mention of it, and then I saw that.
Not encountered anyone camping so far
No,
up there.
not lately.
Yeah.
I think that those typically happen along the
Mhm.
Route 14. They come up that little
Mhm.
trail from the
That's gonna
cemetery
be-
building and.
It's gonna get colder quick too, so.
Yeah.
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 Almost at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had one item that you wanted to add to the agenda. Should we do that today, or should we table it for next time? Because it is past our meeting time officially.
I can't even remember what.
It's the committee in charge, right?
Oh, yes,
Thank you, because I didn't write it down.
yeah, so the council, so you know, we have to come up with a committee, like a statement, you know, kind of you know, what do we call it, a charge And I don't know if it's much different than the mission statement. So,
So I can give context with this, if it's helpful, it's that a number of the, not this committee, this is very high functioning, but a number of the other city committees are either lacking a quorum, lacking people, and lacking a direction and things specifically to do. And so the question is for all of the city committees to come up with either a mission statement or a charge, I think they're more or less interchangeable. To just make sure that everyone on the committee understands the work the committee is doing and that there is a direction for that work that the committee is doing. I think that if you just came back and said the Cow Pasture Committee has a mission statement that we all understand and are implementing thoroughly, here it is. I think that would more than satisfy what he's
Yeah.
looking for.
so it might be a good time to revisit the mission statement that is on, we read it each time and it's posted on our website. And, so I'll put that on the next meeting.
Sure.
So that we could come up with what we want to present and if we want to change our mission statement. We have a mission and a vision, and maybe we can combine the two. We just read the mission statement, but on the website, there's the vision. So maybe I'll put that on for next meeting and.
I think that pretty much puts you ahead of the class as far as committees go. I think a lot of them
Actually,
are,
we have it.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of them are a little bit rudderless.
So maybe it's more of a, it's just a housekeeping. Let's look at it again, see if we're happy with it.
And it would be good to revisit the website because it's out of date, I have, committee there's a few documents on there that just need to be updated.
Okay. So we'll put that on the agenda. Okay, it is 7:05 and I think we got through the agenda. Good work. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we don't have to vote on a motion to adjourn, so it is, the meeting is adjourned at 7:05. Thank you.
And actually, I don't think as a chair, I'm supposed to be making any motions or voting on anything unless there's a tie. That's I've been reading that in the paper for other committees.
Yeah.
So remind me of that,
Yes.
because I'm not supposed to be voting and,
Okay.
I would be a tiebreaker, apparently.